F-150 cold air intake truck mod. If you guys like what you see, follow along. I'm going to show you how to modify your OEM parts to do just this and save you hundreds of dollars instead of purchasing an aftermarket cold air intake filter. Alright, let's increase that performance. First off, you're going to need to remove just the filter housing itself. There's another mod where you remove the silencer part, which is this piece, but we're not going to do that. I just don't believe in it. So basically, if you want to disconnect the entire thing, is an 8mm here, undo that, this thing comes right off, just like that. Okay, same thing goes for this. This is your mass airflow sensor housing right here, and there's your MAF sensor. You're going to want to clean that with a mass airflow sensor cleaner while you're in here. So set that assembly aside right there. What you really want to get into is this piece here. This is what holds your filter, and I mean like this. Grab it for you. Your filter will sit in there, and I'm going to show you how to do just this right here. So you have a cold air intake, and you get added extra miles per gallon and some throttle response. That's all I would expect to do from any kind of a cold air intake system. So let's get to it, and I'll show you how to do this. Basically, at the bottom here there are two rubber grommets that hold these plastic feet, and they just pull right out, and you can see how that works. Right now I have it already disassembled for purposes of the video. So initially the air intake sucks air through your fender wall here, okay, and it's a very, very small hole. Let me show you that. I'm going to remove this, set it aside. Let's pull this out of the fender wall, and while that hole right there is similar to the intake hole here in equivalence, this hole is not. Look how small that hole is. I mean, this hole is, we're not going by the outside diameter, we're going by the inside perimeter, because that's like a restriction. This is like your truck breathing through a straw. So pull this thing out and toss it. You don't need it no more. Basically what you're going to grab is this piece. We're going to work on this here. Alright, let's cover some of the tools you're going to need to complete this mod. Piece of 100 grit sandpaper or equivalent, a pencil, a ruler, straight edge to mark your lines on the housing like so, a coping saw. Coping saw is the best tool for this this mod because it just cuts through the plastic like no tomorrow, and you can make your swiveled angled cuts however you've designed to cut your housing for your cold air intake. Works rather well. To get to the corners that the coping saw can't get to, a handheld hacksaw, although it's not completely necessary, and also not completely necessary, but I use this to snip the tips, a pair of tin snips. So that's it. Let's get cutting on this housing and show you guys how to complete this mod. Okay, now you can see that I've kind of pieced things back together that I have cut off and modified this specific filter intake housing. Initially it looks pretty much just like this. Okay, this is the entire assembly, and what happens is this piece goes through the fender wall and to suck air through your fender wall. So you can see that between this hole here and this hole here is like your truck breathing, or your car breathing through a straw. I mean, look at the difference here. And this isn't even modified yet. This is the original intake that accepts this piece here. So this would just insert in here like that, and then your truck breathes through this hole. So to free that restriction, you can remove this piece from your fender housing. At the least, do that and it will increase your efficiency by going from this hole to that hole. But if you want to take it a step further, you can do and follow me along here. But one note before you attempt this, that this could possibly void a warranty if your vehicle is in warranty. But you know, regular K&N filters, aftermarket products like that too, can also void warranties. So it may or may not be in your best interest to follow through with this modification here, as far as cutting and opening the cold air intake up a bit more. But what you can do, like I said, the least you could do is remove this. And then anytime you have to take your vehicle into the dealership, you can always just put this piece back in place, and nobody ever knows. Then when you get home and after your vehicle's been serviced, you can remove this and have your performance back. I don't know why they're so anal about restrictions. But anyway, so what you're going to do is, with a steady hand, you're going to, what I did is I rested my hand on the housing like this and drew a pencil line all the way around to where I wanted to cut it off. Then I grabbed my coping saw and did just that. So let's say I cut that off. I followed the pencil line all the way around. This hole turns into this hole now, an even bigger hole. So I still want more. What I've done is just create a guard, a heat guard. That's what I'm trying to do here. And this back half right here acts as a heat guard, drawing air in through the filter from the front of the engine as opposed to the rear of the engine. Because if this entire thing was exposed and just plain open like this, it's going to be drawing air from every angle. And what I don't want it to do is draw air from the back side of the engine. I want all the air to be taken in through the front of the engine. So then, the feet being on the bottom, I just traced my pencil, took it down, traced a design that I liked, like that, and took my gauge here, which is just a 1-inch straight edge, and I made a pencil line with this all the way around the bottom towards the feet, about 1 inch from the feet as well. There's a corner here. Did that line and came all the way up. Okay, so I did my design, grabbed my coping saw and started cutting those out. Now that's where the coping saw comes in handy, because you can maneuver this thing. This thing is built for finished carpentry. You can maneuver it to cut, you know, any kind of shapes that you want. So let's just remove this, saying that I just cut it now. Let's get rid of it. Take that tape off. So this is the piece that you have removed, and you can see that I've marked it with pencil as the piece being removed. So you're left with this. Your engine sits behind this housing. The reason I designed the cut like that and I left the back part of this filter housing is I don't want any heat coming up from the engine and being sucked into the filter. Now I know K&N filter intakes, they don't give you options like that. They basically give you a pipe and this filter and say bolt it on, and you have no rear heat shield from protection against heat drawn in through the intake filter. I know there are other companies that do make stuff like that, like Airaid and Spectra. So, but K&N, I haven't seen one yet. They may or may not make them. I just haven't seen them. The aftermarket part that I've seen through them is just this filter with a pipe attached, and just goes pretty much direct mount. And but I heard it's a pain in the ass to modify that or to install that with your mass airflow sensor. So if you're looking to make a very efficient modification to your vehicle without spending any money at all, other than buying, you know, a $20–$30 K&N OEM filter, that's what you're going to be buying here. Is just a standard K&N OEM fit filter, and you get these online for, I don't know, 20–30 bucks, really cheap. After that, after you have everything cut out, you're going to take your piece of sandpaper. You're going to sand down any kind of rough edges. Be proud of this here because it is your work. Now, if you do want more flow, remember that you can open this up and cut all of this off. But I prefer the heat shield and cool air coming from the front of the vehicle entering the filter housing, and that's why I designed this cut like that. So in the end, you are left with this. And after that, you reinstall this housing, put your filter in here, walk it back over to your truck, your vehicle, and reinstall it. And there we go. The filter is reinstalled along with your modified housing. To do the very least, if you don't feel like cutting on your filter housing, you can always just remove this piece from the fender. It goes into that hole, remove it to where you have a larger intake hole here in the top part of the filter housing. You can go more extreme with this, again cutting away more of this plastic, but again I feel that this back half acts as a heat shield against the engine heat coming up, so more air is directed from the front of the engine towards the filter housing, thus creating that heat shield effect, drawing in more cool air as opposed to a mixture of both hot and cold. There you have it. That is your modified intake, cold air intake housing. Again, don't get scared doing anything like this. The only thing that you're really cutting up is this one piece here. Other than that, if you mess up or in any way have to redo this, save this piece here, and you could always get a new filter housing cover from online or a salvage yard, somewhere like that. Alright guys, that's it. F-150 truck mod. Stay tuned.